Hi everyone, this is Josh with Josh Wright Piano TV. Today's episode is about bringing back an old piece. Someone requested that I do this video not too long ago, and I thought it was a good topic to address, and it's going to bring back many of the same concepts that I went over in my video called Learning a New Piece, but we're going to talk a little bit about ways to stay inspired when you're bringing back a new piece, and a couple of pointers to make sure that you bring it back even more effectively than you had it before. This is a piece I haven't played for many years, and it's a little softer piece because I have to stay quiet because we have neighbors here and it's kind of late. I've been teaching all day, but wanted to make this video for each of you. By the way, I'm trying to be more consistent with these uploads once a week, so if you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe, and that will you'll have the new content each week. And thank you so much for everyone, for all of your support of this channel. I just want to say thanks before we got started. What I would do when I first bring back a piece, this is the Chopin Nocturne, Opus 72, number 1. Whoops. Notice I'm already trying to, and I teach this piece a lot, so it's not like that it's unfamiliar to me. Just like a piece that you're bringing back is not going to be unfamiliar. You could probably sit down, especially with a lyrical piece like this, probably just play through it a few times. But what I'm going to suggest is that you do play it through first, all the way through, and again, you can adjust, you can do any of these concepts that I say to your own liking. You know, you can, as one teacher said, season to taste, you know, so he would give me all these amazing comments, but then he'd say, you can take this and do whatever you want. You don't have to do what I tell you. And I'm like, well, of course I'm going to do it. You told me, it's brilliant. But anyway, here we go. So what I would do is I would go extra slow and shape every little thing. Notice, a lot of people just kind of play that left hand boring, and they think, okay, this is the expressive stuff coming in right here. Okay, but actually, you can still... Notice, I'm on a keyboard. This is the piano I use to practice late at night. I don't practice all the time on a keyboard, obviously, but even on a keyboard, you can hear that expression. Feel it die down. Another thing I'm going to be careful of is to end my phrases. Another thing I'm going to think about, in case you didn't do this already in your previous learning of the piece. Sometimes when we first learn a piece, we skip details. Little things like voicing different voices in relation to each other. So, melody, this is your alto voice. The F sharp, so we want to keep that a little softer, not too soft. Then diminuendo. So, how is this different than learning a new piece? A lot of times when you learn a new piece, it's too hard to sight read. This probably would not be too hard for me to sight read, but if it feels like it's too hard for you to sight read, and by the way, I'm not an amazing sight reader, I'm not bragging at all. I was learning Prokofiev Third Concerto, first practice day a few days ago, and man, it was slow. So everyone experiences work and sight reading at a different level, but when you're learning a new piece for the first time, you have to kind of sometimes take little sections, right hand, left hand, hands together from the end. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But the first thing I would do, just to get the creative juices flowing, to get the inspiration, more abundant, is go through extra slow and shape every little thing. Okay, now once you've done that, You might play it through again slowly, a little bit more smoothly. You're not going to stop and go back and fix little things along the way. Just play it smooth again. And then after you've done that, and I might do that every single day since I already know the piece, then I'm going to, oh, by the way, always under tempo on that, especially if you're bringing back like a fast etude or something. You're always going to want to do that under tempo, because the worst thing you can do is create bad habits right as you're bringing it back from the start. After you've done that a couple times, if it's a slow lyrical piece or a fast piece, you've gone through it slowly, I'm going to get right to work at the end, okay? I'm always going to work to the end, because that's a point that I have completion, that I can feel like, it's finished. So I might take it from here. Right hand. Again, okay, now I'm doing left hand. Again, I'm just following exactly the dynamic scheme that I want to do. And I want you to ask yourself, especially when you bring back a new piece, or an old piece, you ask yourself and you drill yourself, you say, did I do everything I could with shape? Are the notes right? Is the rhythm 100% correct? If you can answer yes to all of those things, then you can move back 2 more measures, okay? And it doesn't have to be absolutely astounding your very first day, but if you can get it there, yes, that's good, okay? Because you don't want to put off the work. There was a great thing, I'm sure I've shared this in a video before, but Heinrich Neuhaus's book, The Art of Piano Playing, I always remember this. He said, practice is like boiling a pot of water. Most students get it up to, 6, if you're in the US, this is pathetic. I think water boils at like 100 degrees Celsius, like 220 Fahrenheit, I think it is. So if you're going to 100 degrees Celsius, by the way, if I'm off, you guys can just ream me in the comments below. So, because I should know that. But if water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, I haven't reviewed that for a while, students might get it up to 80 degrees and they might say, okay, I'm good for today. And then the water cools overnight and they have to actually do a lot of the work to get it back up to there. And then they try to almost get it to boiling. Maybe they get it 85 the next day, then 90, then 91, then 92. And then by that day, they're so dang sick of everything. They're like, I'm just going to get this perfect. And then they finally get it to boiling. He said that Sviatoslav Richter was one of his students, and he came to a lesson, and it was one of the Prokofiev sonatas, and he said it was a particularly difficult passage, and he said, how did you get that so good? You've only learned this in a week or 2. I can't remember the exact details of the story. And he said, I worked without ceasing for 2 hours on those few measures or lines or whatever, however short it was. He did not stop until it was perfect. And that's a great lesson for each of us. So as you're bringing back an old piece, a lot of the same concepts from learning a new piece apply. Very careful reading, right notes, right rhythm. But then I want you to ask yourself, is it absolutely perfect? Even if it's in an slower tempo, is it absolutely perfect? Is my interpretation convincing? What are some other things I might be able to do with interpretation? What could I do to make it more special for the audience? And if you're really inquisitive and curious about music and you're listening to recordings and you're challenging yourself to hear even more beautiful nuances in your music, you're going to bring back a piece very effectively. If you just kind of run through it slow and then, okay, I'm going to up the metronome a little bit more fast, it's going to be not that inspired. So those are my tips for bringing back a new piece. Of course, there's other tips out there. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you do. I'm always learning things from my YouTube audience, so thank you guys for your comments. And if you have any questions or video requests, my email is josh@joshwrightpiano.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your support of Josh Wright Piano TV.